When you grow old, the lazier you are at these 8 things, the happier you become. Introduction. The art of doing less to live more. Society constantly urges us to stay productive, achieve more, and push harder. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that success is measured by how much we accomplish. Don't waste time, they say. Keep moving forward, keep achieving. But what if the true key to happiness as we grow older is not in doing more but in doing less? Buddhism teaches that happiness is found not in accumulation but in release. Not in control but in surrendering to the natural flow of life. True peace comes from letting go of unnecessary burdens and simplifying our existence. This doesn't mean neglecting responsibilities or falling into apathy. Instead, it means making wise choices about where we direct our energy. In this guide, we will explore 8 things that, as you grow older, you should become lazier about, because the less you invest in these exhausting habits, the lighter and happier your life will become. Chapter 1. Stop overthinking what others think of you. For most of our lives, we are conditioned to seek approval. From childhood, we are praised when we do well and corrected when we make mistakes. Over time, we internalize this pattern. If others approve of me, I must be doing something right. If they disapprove, I must have done something wrong. This mindset follows us into adulthood. We ask ourselves, do they like me? Did I say the right thing? What if they judge me? But have you ever noticed that no matter how much you try to please everyone, someone always has something negative to say? No matter how kind, successful, or careful you are, people will still form opinions based on their own perspectives and insecurities. The freedom of letting go. One of the greatest freedoms we can grant ourselves is learning to let go of other people's opinions. Imagine an elderly man sitting in his garden, enjoying a cup of tea. His younger self might have worried about how his neighbors perceive him, whether they admire his success, approve of his choices, or respect his status. But in his later years, he has learned a profound truth. Right finger, no matter what you do, there will always be someone who disapproves. This realization is incredibly liberating. Think about it. If you can't control how others see you, why waste energy worrying about it? Buddhism and the wind. Buddhism compares clinging to other people's opinions to chasing the wind, an exhausting and fruitless pursuit. No matter how fast you run, you can never catch it. What others think of you is not a reflection of your true worth. It's simply a reflection of their own experiences, biases, and emotional state. A person who is unhappy with their own life may criticize yours to feel better. A person who is insecure may judge you harshly because they judge themselves even more harshly. But none of this has anything to do with you. A personal story. I once knew someone who was terrified of speaking up in meetings because they were afraid of being judged. One day, they finally voiced an idea, only to receive mixed reactions. Some colleagues loved it, while others dismissed it. They later realized that the exact same words were interpreted differently by different people, depending on their own perspectives. This was a turning point for them. They understood that they could never control how others react, so they stopped trying. Instead, they focused on being true to themselves. Reclaiming your peace. The moment you stop overanalyzing how others perceive you, you reclaim your inner peace. You start living authentically, without constantly filtering yourself for the sake of others. Instead of worrying about whether people approve of you, ask yourself, do I approve of myself? Am I living according to my own values? Am I happy with who I am becoming? Surround yourself with those who appreciate you for who you truly are. Live in alignment with your beliefs. The more you focus on your own truth, the less the opinions of others will matter. At the end of the day, your life is yours to live, not theirs to judge. Chapter 2. Stop wasting energy on arguments and drama. There was a time when proving a point seemed necessary, when you believed that if you found the right words, the right logic, or the right evidence, you could make someone see things your way. Maybe you got into heated debates with friends, spent hours crafting the perfect response in an online discussion, or replayed arguments in your mind, thinking, I should have said this instead. But as the years pass, you start to realize a quiet truth. Most arguments are just noise. They don't change minds. They don't bring peace. More often than not, they just drain your energy and leave both sides frustrated. The Zen lesson on arguments. Consider an old Zen story. A wise monk and his disciple were walking through a village when they overheard 2 people arguing loudly. The disciple, eager to help, turned to his master and asked, "Master, should we step in and help them see reason?" The monk smiled and replied, "No, the river flows regardless of whether the rocks argue over its direction." The disciple pondered this and soon understood, arguments don't change reality. The river of life keeps flowing, whether people agree on its direction or not. Why arguments are a waste of energy? People cling to their beliefs, often without realizing it. Once an idea is deeply rooted in someone's mind, logic alone is rarely enough to shake it. Have you ever seen someone completely change their political or religious views after an argument? Probably not. Have you ever been in a debate where you presented solid evidence, yet the other person still refused to listen? Probably. Have you ever walked away from an argument feeling exhausted, thinking, that was a complete waste of time? Definitely. This happens because most people don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. They're not trying to learn from you. They're waiting for their turn to speak. So, why spend your energy fighting battles that don't need to be fought? Choosing peace over conflict, instead of getting dragged into arguments and drama. Try this simple approach. 1. Pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? 2. Acknowledge the other person's view without engaging in the battle. A simple, I understand your perspective, is often enough. 3. Let it go and move on. Just because someone invites you into an argument doesn't mean you have to accept the invitation. Imagine two people holding a rope in a tug of war. The moment you let go of your side, the struggle ends. The other person may stumble. They may be confused, but eventually, they'll move on, just like you should. A personal story. I once had a friend who loved debating. He would argue about everything, from politics to the best way to cook rice. At first, I engaged with him, trying to prove my points. But one day, I decided to stop. The next time he started an argument, I simply said, "That's an interesting point," and I left it at that. You know what happened? He got bored. He had no one to argue with. Over time, he stopped trying to pull me into debates. Our conversations became much more peaceful, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Drama is just another form of noise. Beyond arguments, there's another energy drainer: drama. Gossip, petty conflicts, and unnecessary emotional battles take up valuable space in your mind. Instead of engaging in negativity, choose to step away. Imagine your mind as a garden. The more you feed it with drama, the more weeds grow. The more you focus on peace, the more flowers bloom. Chapter 3. Stop trying to fix everyone's problems. You may have spent years being the person everyone turned to, the problem solver, the caregiver, the one who held everything together. Whenever a friend was in crisis, you were the first to pick up the phone. When family members struggled, you rushed to offer solutions. At first, this felt good. It gave you a sense of purpose. But as time went on, a realization began to dawn. It is not your job to save everyone. No matter how much you care, you cannot fix other people's lives for them. The butterfly and the cocoon. Think of a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. It fights, wriggles, and pushes against the tough shell. If someone steps in and helps it too soon, cutting open the cocoon to make things easier, the butterfly never develops the strength it needs. Its wings remain weak, and it may never fly. Likewise, people need to face their own struggles to grow. If you constantly intervene, you might actually rob them of the lessons they need to learn. This doesn't mean you shouldn't care. It means you must respect their journey. The weight of carrying others' burdens. Imagine you're hiking up a steep mountain, carrying your own backpack filled with your responsibilities, emotions, and challenges. Along the way, people keep handing you their heavy bags, one after another. You want to help, so you take them. At first, you manage, but soon, your back aches, your knees wobble, and you find yourself struggling to move forward. Why? Because you were never meant to carry everyone's load. When you try to fix everyone's problems, you drain your own energy. And the irony is, some people will keep relying on you without ever learning to carry their own weight. How to help without losing yourself. So, how do you strike a balance between being compassionate and protecting your own energy? 1. Offer guidance, not rescue. Instead of fixing the problem, ask, what do you think you should do? This encourages people to find their own solutions. 2. Be a listener, not a fixer. Sometimes, people just need to be heard, not saved. A simple, "I'm here for you," is more powerful than a dozen solutions. 3. Set boundaries. If someone repeatedly brings their drama to you but never takes action to change, it's okay to step back. Your time and energy are valuable. 4. Let go of guilt. You are not abandoning people by refusing to solve their problems. You are giving them the space to grow. A personal story. I once had a friend who constantly called me whenever she had relationship problems. I listened, gave advice, and helped her through every emotional crisis. But over time, I realized something. She wasn't actually taking my advice. She kept making the same mistakes. She was using me as a safety net instead of facing her issues. One day, instead of offering solutions, I simply said, "I trust that you'll figure this out." At first, she was surprised, but eventually, she stopped relying on me for every decision. And guess what? She did figure it out. She became stronger because she had to. Your energy is precious. Spend it wisely. It's a beautiful thing to care for others. But you must also care for yourself. Ask yourself, am I helping in a way that empowers them? Am I carrying a burden that isn't mine to carry? Am I sacrificing my peace for problems that are not my responsibility? The world does not need you to be a savior. It needs you to be strong, present, and at peace with yourself. So, offer a helping hand, but don't take on the weight of the world. Let people grow, just as you have had to grow. Chapter 4. Stop chasing perfection and let go of regret. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. From a young age, we are taught to aim for flawless results, perfect grades, perfect careers, perfect relationships. But here's the truth. Perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target, always just out of reach. The moment you think you're close, the standards shift, leaving you feeling like you're never quite good enough. And then comes regret, the voice in your head that whispers, "If only I had chosen differently. If only I had said the right thing. If only I could go back and fix my mistakes." But what if I told you that regret is just another trick of the mind? Mistakes are part of growth. Think about a time you made a decision that didn't turn out the way you hoped. Maybe it was a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or a wrong turn in life. Now, ask yourself, did I learn something from it? Did it shape me into who I am today? Would I be the same person without that experience? If you erased every mistake, you would erase the lessons that came with them. You are who you are today because of everything you've been through. The story of the broken pot. There's an old story about a water bearer who carried 2 pots, one perfect, the other cracked. Each day, as he walked to the river, water leaked from the cracked pot. One day, the cracked pot said, "I'm sorry, I have failed you. I can't hold water like the perfect pot." The water bearer smiled and replied, "Look at the path we walk every day. Do you see the flowers blooming along one side? That's where your water fell. Without your imperfections, those flowers wouldn't exist." In the same way, our mistakes, imperfections, and regrets create something beautiful: growth, wisdom, and unexpected blessings. Regret is a prison, gratitude is freedom. Regret is like carrying a heavy chain. The more you replay the past, the heavier it becomes. But the moment you accept the past for what it is, a teacher, not a prison, you free yourself. Instead of thinking, "I should have done better," say, "I did my best with what I knew at the time." Instead of saying, "I wasted time," say, "I learned something valuable." Instead of dwelling on what could have been, embrace what is, letting go and moving forward. Imagine holding a cup of water with your arms stretched out. At first, it's easy, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. That's what regret does. It weighs you down the longer you carry it. Now, imagine setting the cup down. That's what happens when you let go. Life is too short to chase an illusion or carry regret. The past is done. The future is uncertain. But right now, this moment, is yours. So, stop chasing perfection. Stop regretting. Instead, choose gratitude. Choose growth. Choose to embrace the beauty of what is. Chapter 5. Stop accumulating unnecessary things. For years, we chase after material possessions, believing they bring happiness. We buy bigger houses, fancier clothes, the latest gadgets, always thinking that the next purchase will finally bring us contentment. But have you ever noticed? The joy of owning something new fades quickly. The excitement of a new phone lasts a few months. A new car feels special for a while. Then it just becomes another vehicle. Even the things we once dreamed of owning soon lose their magic. As we age, a quiet realization begins to settle in. True peace lies not in ownership, but in simplicity. The weight of possessions. Imagine walking through life carrying a heavy sack. Inside are all the things you've accumulated over the years: clothes, gadgets, trinkets, furniture, cars. At first, you don't notice the weight, but as time goes on, it gets heavier and heavier. You struggle under its burden, yet you keep adding more. Now, picture setting the sack down. Suddenly, you feel light. You can breathe. You can move freely. This is the power of letting go. A Buddhist monk's simple life. A Buddhist monk owns only a robe and a bowl. Yet he walks the earth unburdened. He has no clutter, no storage units filled with unused items, no overflowing closets. Why? Because he carries no unnecessary baggage. He understands that happiness doesn't come from owning more, it comes from needing less. Now, this doesn't mean you have to give up everything and live with only 2 possessions. But it does invite you to ask yourself, how much do I really need to be happy? Are my possessions bringing me peace? Or are they just adding clutter to my life? What could I let go of that would make me feel lighter? Declutter your home. Declutter your mind. Clutter isn't just physical, it's mental. The more things we own, the more we have to manage, clean, maintain, and worry about. Ever noticed how a messy room makes your mind feel chaotic? How a cluttered desk makes it harder to focus? Now imagine if your home was simple, peaceful, filled only with things that truly add value to your life. Wouldn't that bring a sense of calm? Try this. Walk through your home and pick one thing to give away today. Ask yourself, does this object bring me joy or is it just taking up space? If you haven't used something in over a year, consider letting it go. Decluttering isn't just about creating space in your home. It's about creating space in your mind and heart. The more you own, the more it owns you. Think about it. A big house means more cleaning, more repairs, more expenses. A collection of luxury watches or designer bags means worrying about keeping them safe. Owning too many things means spending time organizing, maintaining, and replacing them. But when you own less, you free yourself, you free your time, your energy, and your mental space. A story of letting go. There was once a wealthy man who had everything: expensive cars, a mansion, closets filled with designer clothes. Yet, he was deeply unhappy. One day, he met a simple fisherman who owned nothing but a small boat and a modest home. The fisherman smiled easily, enjoying the sunset without a worry in the world. The wealthy man asked, "How are you so happy with so little?" The fisherman replied, "Because I have everything I need, and nothing that I don't." The man went home and started giving away things he didn't truly need. Over time, he found something he had been searching for his whole life: peace. Chapter 6. Stop trying to please everyone. For years, you may have bent over backward to meet expectations. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You prioritized others' happiness over your own. You felt responsible for making everyone comfortable, even if it meant sacrificing your own peace. But now is your time. At some point, you must ask yourself, am I living for others? Or am I living for myself? Am I making choices out of love or out of fear? Do I truly enjoy the life I've built? Or am I just trying to keep everyone else happy? The moment you stop trying to make everyone happy, you step into a world of freedom. The burden of pleasing others. Imagine carrying a basket filled with stones. Each stone represents an expectation: what your parents want, what your friends expect, what society demands. At first, it's manageable, but as more people pile in their expectations, the basket gets heavier. You struggle, but you don't want to disappoint anyone, so you keep carrying it. One day, you stop and ask, why am I carrying all of this? And in that moment, you realize, you don't have to. The power of saying no. One of the most liberating things you can do is say no without guilt. No to people who drain your energy. No to obligations that don't align with your values. No to relationships that only take and never give. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you authentic. Instead of saying yes to please others, start saying yes to yourself. Stepping into your own freedom. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, you are not responsible for everyone's happiness. You are not obligated to meet unrealistic expectations. You are not selfish for prioritizing your own well-being. Instead, you are authentic, living in alignment with your true self. Empowered, making choices that bring you joy. Free, unburdened by the weight of others' expectations. The ones who truly matter will walk beside you. The rest? Let them go. Chapter 7. Stop rushing through life. We live in a world that glorifies speed. The faster you work, the more successful you seem. The busier you are, the more valuable you appear. We've been conditioned to believe that productivity equals worth, that the faster we move, the more accomplished we become. But let me ask you this. Have you ever rushed through a meal, barely tasting it? Have you ever finished a task only to realize you remember nothing about doing it? Have you ever been so focused on the next thing that you forgot to enjoy where you are now? What if the true essence of life is not found in acceleration but in slowing down? The art of drinking tea. There's a Zen saying, when drinking tea, just drink tea. It sounds simple, but think about it. How often do you drink tea or coffee while checking your phone? Thinking about work or planning your next move? Now imagine this instead. You hold the warm cup in your hands. You breathe in the soothing aroma. You take a slow sip. Truly tasting it, you feel the warmth spreading through your body. No distractions, no rush, just being in the moment. Now, apply this to life. What if, instead of constantly racing forward, you simply lived fully in each moment? Speed versus depth. Life is not measured by how fast you move but by how deeply you experience it. A conversation is richer when you listen, instead of thinking about what to say next. A walk is more beautiful when you notice the colors of the sky and the sound of the wind. A day is more fulfilling when you are present rather than distracted by a never-ending to-do list. Slowing down doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing one thing at a time, with full awareness. Let go of the need to hurry. The world will keep moving whether you rush or not, but you get to decide how you experience it. Instead of racing through your day, slow down and savor it. Instead of thinking about your next step, be present where you are. Instead of living for the future, start truly living now. Because in the end, life is not about how fast you got there. It's about how deeply you lived along the way. Chapter 8. Stop worrying about the future. Worry is like a rocking chair. It keeps you moving, but it gets you nowhere. How often have you lost sleep over endless what-ifs? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if things don't go the way I planned? And yet, how many of those fears actually came true? Probably very few. We spend so much time living in an imagined future, worrying about things that may never happen, that we forget to truly live in the present. You have overcome before. You will overcome again. Think about all the hardships you've faced in life. There were moments when you thought, I'll never get through this. But you did. You endured. You adapted. You overcame. The proof is simple. You are still here. So why doubt yourself now? If you have handled every challenge that has come your way, why believe that you won't handle what's next? Worrying about tomorrow does not change what happens. It only robs you of today. A parable. The farmer and the storm. A wise farmer once told his son, "Do not fear the storm that has not come." The son asked, "But what if the storm destroys our crops?" The father replied, "Then we will plant again. And if there is no storm, then we will have wasted all that time worrying." The son understood. Fear of the future does not prevent hardship, it only prevents peace. Shift from worry to gratitude. Instead of worrying about what might go wrong, focus on what is right in front of you. Right now, in this moment, the sun is shining. A friend's laughter fills the air. A warm cup of tea sits in your hands. A simple meal nourishes your body. These are life's true treasures. And yet, how often do we overlook them because we are too busy worrying about a future that hasn't even arrived? Worry is a thief. It steals joy from the present moment. But gratitude is an anchor. It keeps you grounded in the beauty of now. A personal reflection. I once met a man who spent years worrying about retirement. He calculated every possibility, feared every financial downturn, and stressed over every unpredictable event. One day, he was diagnosed with a serious illness. Suddenly, all his worries about the future no longer mattered, because he had never truly lived in the present. As he reflected on his life, he said something that has stayed with me ever since. I wish I had enjoyed the journey instead of fearing the destination. Let go and trust. The future will come whether you worry or not. So why not trust yourself? Trust that you will handle what comes. Trust that life has always given you what you need to move forward. And most importantly, trust that right now is enough. So take a deep breath. Let go of the what-ifs. Feel the warmth of the present moment. This is where life happens. Conclusion. The beauty of letting go. Aging is not a burden, it is a privilege. It is an invitation to release what no longer serves you and step into a life of ease. You do not need to prove anything anymore. You do not need to chase anything. Happiness is not in accomplishments or possessions, it is in the now. Live simply, live joyfully, let go, and in doing so, you will find the deepest peace of all.